Okay. I think we're live now. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Sorry it has been a minute. Life has gotten incredibly busy, and even today I don't have time for much. I think we'll be like maybe 2 hours today. 2 jobs plus school requires an awful lot of time. But I'll try to find small pockets every now and then to keep stuff going on this channel. Hello, Dylan. How are you doing this fine day? Carson, nice to see you. Give it like 2 minutes, and then we'll get started properly. If anybody, any live viewers that still haven't had their submissions featured that want them to, please let me know, and we'll probably get to those first. Otherwise, I think I'm just going to go down the list. Try to get the rest of these out of here. Hey, 3X. Lovely to see you. Alderman, we got DJ Charo. Some new faces. Different time than usual. I do still want to try to do these on Saturdays as like a pattern, but I do want to very occasionally do one of these on a different day, just in case that there's somebody who wants to have their inputs on their submission, but can't make it to a Saturday stream for whatever reason. Trying to get into Age of Empires 2. Nice! Those are some of my favorite words strung together. Glad to hear it. What's your thoughts on it? I would love to hear. Alright, in the meantime, I think we can get this nice and started off. So, do we start at the top, or is there any of these that particularly jump out at me? After seeing Duke's example of Incineroar as a Star Fox pilot, I figure I'd take that one step. That sounds fun! Let's poke this one from Arrow. Come on. Hyperlink? Okay, fine. Not Hyperlink. That's okay. Alright, so this one is from Arrow. Their proposal for a Smash Reboot. This proposal can be summed up into words. I'll put this in the chat as well, just in case people want to read along with me. Genre swap. I wish I don't mean change the genre in the name itself. I mean, what if the characters in the Smash roster swapped their genre of origin? Huh! Okay. That's a new one. What if Mario started as an adventure game instead of a platformer? What if Zelda and Mysterious Muramasa Castle swapped gameplay loops with each other? What if Kirby was a horror game? Okay, maybe not that one. This would not only open the door for unique concepts, but also allowing for a unique visual identity for a new Smash game. The unique character designs alone would be a major draw for the game, and all the while you'd be keeping the core idea of Smash being a celebration of gaming as a medium. Biggest issue I can imagine with this concept was actually getting permission to make such radical design changes. This is Fantasyland, we don't have to worry about that. Well, the company can be hard to get permission to use certain characters. It's not even enter negotiating third-party characters for the base roster. As for the gameplay, I can see 2 directions the series can go in. More in-depth approach in the current formula, or like jump to 3D, or something. However, I have a personal but major gripe with the direction that Smash Brothers I feel has to change regardless of decision. The design of items. When you look at a game like Mario Kart, the way that items are designed is integral to the overall experience. They're all varied enough and functional to offer different use cases, make every race feel unique, different, and unique. Smash's items may act similarly at a surface level, but with the item additions of 4 and Ultimate especially, they fall remarkably short in being varied in function. Far too many of the items are super volatile in their implementation. Be it due to just being overtuned? I've never thought about this before, but isn't this... Yeah, there has been kind of a power creep in terms of how Smash Brothers items have evolved. Spectacle and less about making the game more dynamic and fun. Just think about the number of batting items trying to ape from the home run bat instead of something like the beam sword. Or the fact that pretty much it gave 2 Dragoons now. Or the fact that we have a Master Ball which only spawns legendary Pokemon on top of a bog standard Pokeball. That's not even to get into items whose gimmick is literally just killing you at a certain %. So even if it means cutting back on number of items, the next Smash should design items to be something to augment gameplay rather than disrupt it. Beyond moving away from having a ton of volatile items, they should emphasize items that affect how stages are navigated, affect items that change character stats like the Metal Box or Bunny Hood, or even change the way that items spawn on stages. This is interesting. I know a couple of people have talked about like items they could add, but I've never heard, I don't know ever, if I've heard going in depth about like actual item game design in Smash Brothers. Everybody just turns them off when you get to like this kind of corner of Smash Brothers discussion. And this is interesting. I like the idea of trying to focus items more on... I'm picturing something that works like Bugs' tunnel in Multiversus, being able to like maybe create pathways between stages, or like something that can just make it so you can burrow upward through a stage. I don't know. Oh wait, that's literally... That's the entire document. Oh, well. Okay. We're starting... Oops, I just clicked... One second. That was the wrong button. But, I mean, it's short. It's sweet. But you know what, Arrow? I appreciate the thought processes. Unfortunately, there's not really enough here to give much more feedback apart from that, but that got my brain thinking, and I appreciate it when that happens. Thank you. Hang on just a second. I forgot to get the covered submissions documents. We can just discuss more items on... That's a good idea, yeah. Anybody have any ideas for items of that nature? Like when you hear... How did Arrow word it? I should stop copying and pasting this. Yeah, when you hear that the next Smash should design items to be something to augment gameplay rather than disrupt it, what pops to mind? Because I am genuinely curious about that. Like the one that exists right now that immediately jumps to my mind is the Warp Star, like the Mario Galaxy Warp Star. Stuff like that just allow for really fun, just dynamic, like, okay, you can launch somebody into the star and it'll launch them back, you can combo off of it. Or, gosh, I don't know. This is not something I've had to think about before. If you had, like... No, that wouldn't work. I was gonna say, if you had, like, the DK barrel in 64 specifically, if you implemented that into, like, Squad Strike to allow you to swap between stocks and characters, that'd be interesting. Double Cherry! Yes! I've seen a couple of mods that work with that. But god, can you imagine? That would be so cool! That is a 10 out of 10 idea. Perfect for what we're talking about here. Black hole you throw one, unlike the current one, and smash it, insta kills. I feel like that gets into the disruption thing rather than the augmentation. Oh, Sonic Shields would be interesting. Just, okay, you can take one hit without any punishment. There's a couple of items that work in that way. Something that adds status effects to attacks. Oh, right, you did make a whole document on this. I'm sorry, 3X. I read a lot of these, and sometimes I forget things. Chaos Emeralds doesn't collect the pieces. The Boo item from Mario Kart that can make anyone invisible. I do miss invisibility. Invisibility is just a fun thing to mess around with. Limbs to stretch, improving range. I don't know how you'd implement that, but that would be funny. I would enjoy that. You know what I'd love something that makes it so you're constantly floating. Like, even if you're on the ground, you're kind of just floating above it, kind of like the Tanuki suit. And I want that because it would allow you to constantly spam aerials while you're on the ground. That'd be interesting. Or maybe the opposite of that. Make it so that you have an item that will make it so you can, like, land on the ground while you're in the air. So you can, like, charge smash attacks in the air. Kind of like what Steve's block does, but as an actual item. There's interesting things you can do. Swap gun from Henry Stickmin, hit an opponent, and you swap places with them. That's pretty good. Yeah, there's design space here. There's things to work with. Alright. Thank you for the food for thought, Arrow. Pop this over into the document. Alright, it has been translated over. Alright. What's next? 140. Nope. Maybe later, but not right now. Yes, Smash FazDude. I like FazDude's ideas. Let's check out this one next. Alright, how would FazDude handle a Smash Brothers reboot? Can't say I haven't dabbled with the concept. Most of the time such thoughts were focused on the roster. Well, not this time. I'm going to tear Smash apart brick by brick and see just what more can be done with this franchise without completely shifting course from what has come before. One thing I'd love to see in a new Smash, hell, not even a rebooted Smash specifically, is more character customization options. The usual route I see going on is having custom colors, like Rivals of Aether. Giving you a cool one to spare here 3 different ideas. We got custom moves, fun. Specials seen Smash 4 should have a lot of promise. We're bogged down by asinine unlocking methods. That's very true. And most of the time being just this, but stronger or slower, unless you are named Mega Man or Palutena. This time, each fighter will have 2 variants of each of their custom moves, and while they'll be mostly similar to the original form, they'll be more unique. Using examples like the Ice Balls or Cappy, all of them are projectiles but working in different ways. Giving Link specialized arrows, Samus beams, Kirby more copy abilities. Custom moves. We know custom moves. We've seen a lot of ideas on custom moves. Another reason I want to see custom moves return. I'm sure we're all familiar with the idea of reworking characters. I've reworked characters. Like me, has reworked characters. Everybody's reworked characters. Here's the thing, though. I feel like a considerable portion of the fanbase doesn't really take into account a character's playstyle when doing reworks, instead trying to cram every single reference they can into a moveset. Honestly, I feel like at this point, this isn't as prevalent. I feel like maybe I'm just further away from Smash speculation than I used to be. I think I've hit a point where I see people saying people do this more than the people actually doing it. Thought you were a silly clown gremlin in real life, not my music teacher. I've been caught! Oh no! Also, hello, Camp. It's been good. It's been busy. It's been very busy, but the good kind of busy. Basically, I wish that Smash characters could be updated to stay fresh while keeping them familiar enough to veteran players. The way I see it, custom moves are a solid middle ground. You have more fan service and fun moves for casual players to have fun with, and having people say, look, they did the thing! While the base specials would be closer to what veteran competitive players are familiar with. It's a compromise between casual and competitive play. And while it probably won't please everybody, this is the best solution I can think of. Bring custom moves back, have them be more unique and diverse, and make them actually fun to unlock. That being said, there's one tiny problem. Tag team fighters How would their custom moves work? Would each fighter in the team get their own set of specials, or would they all be lumped together so there are 3 options for each special input across the whole team? I'd personally opt for the latter for consistency, but even that kind of goes against the idea of mix and match custom moves. Yeah, I'd go with the first option there, because that sounds fun, being able to individually customize the movesets of Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard, ever using that kind of framework for the Pokemon trainer. That can make for a really interesting fighter. For what is already a very interesting fighter. We got Me Fighter reworks on the topic of reworks. I'm skipping this song. This is a little too mellow for my tastes. 1 second. That's better. No, I'm not keeping the Brawler, Sword Fighter, Gunner archetype. Those are good and I have no problems keeping them. However, there is one small problem, a small portion of how they work that kind of irks me. Picture, if you will, Sans Undertale. Specifically, look at his arm. That sure is a blaster Gaster Blaster. Goodness. Wouldn't it be cool to give it to Bomberman, Travis Touchdown, the Minecraft Pig, or any other Mii costume? Well, tough luck. If you want to do that, you have to give him the Sans hoodie too, which ruins the effect somewhat. Speaking of, don't you want to watch Travis Touchdown wear Sans' hoodie while he's swinging his sword around? Sucks to be you, since if you want Travis to wear the hoodie, he has to use the Gaster Blaster too. I've never thought about this. But like, I like the thought process here. This is more fun, a more enjoyable way of actually making Miis. It's not that much of work, you're just adding like a separate customization option. Yeah, we'll just changing out headgear and outfit to add weapon as well. The weapon dictates the class, but you can use everything else with whatever you want to. I like this. For example, Sans Mii costume may not be his mask, his hoodie and shorts. The outfit and his Gaster Blaster is the weapon. You could make some really funny combinations with this, actually. Which is like the entire point of Mii Fighters, so... Yeah, now that you've pointed it out to me, it kind of feels obvious. Knuckles is Knuckles. I'm just picturing the other Mii Fighters. Just going fisticuffs with the spiked gloves. Yeah, so you can just move things around. It's lovely. Again, this is a very petty change, but one I think would be fun to see and open up a few more doors for character customization. Not to mention endless meme fuel. Doomslayer with a Keyblade would be the rawest visual imaginable. Plus, you could go a step further with this and introduce weapons that aren't tied to a specific... Ooh! That's even more fun! Use the NES Zapper, like the Keyblade, like you just referenced. Oh no, yeah, I like that. In addition to this major change, here's a few smaller tidbits. I'd bring back Mii sizes from Smash 4. They're retooled so you get short, medium, and tall, instead of the size being determined by Mii height for balance purposes. Small Mii Brawler no more. And I wouldn't argue with new classes or weapons. My new top pick would be Mage Caster, but I also vibe really hard with Scientist. Also, customization would be expanded, with new options for specials, taunts, victory animations, etc. While all the specials would be changeable right out of the box, taunts and victory animations could serve as unlockables. Some abilities, such as attacks and jump dodge animations, can be given special VFX, which can be toggled on and off because fun. Also add the Miitopia Mii Maker. As the final part of this section, I want to talk about alternate costumes. Wedding Mario, Inkling Boy, you know, stuff like that. In Street Fighter V, rather than having 8 alts period, characters have costumes, including their default appearance, with a few colors each. Long story short, I want to see Smash adopt this idea. Rather than having to share color slots with Plumber and Builder Mario, Wedding Mario could have a few alts of his own, while the other costumes following suit. We've seen a lot of people cover things like this, and I 100% agree with them. Smash criminally underuses costumes and colors and all that. Like, disregarding the gold mine of monetization that they could essentially finance Smash Bros. Forever with. It's just fun seeing different looks for characters. That's it for customization. So, Moving on to the fighting, we have assists and final smashes. Framemaker's approach to the end. Okay, no, that's not all. I gotta talk more about this. Let it be known, I have nothing against assist trophies, but having built-in assist characters is a really neat concept for a platform fighter, and I think Framemaker's does it wonderfully. So just let the player pick an assist at the start of the match, give them a meter which fills up over time, and let them summon their assist when it's full. Simple, right? Of course, this approach to assists isn't a one-size-fits-all deal with Smash's current approach to assists. Characters which act like regular fighters, such as Waluigi and Knuckles, would fit this setup like a glove, but characters with a bit more influence, like Nightmare's darkening of the screen or Squid Sister's zooming of the camera, wouldn't be as easy to implement. I want to find a way to have both varieties be present. Maybe have the on-demand assists only perform one attack, while their assist trophy equivalents being more akin to the way they act now, with some characters being exclusive to the latter. That's the best solution I can come up with now, but I'm sure there's nuance to this sort of thing. I wouldn't mind axing assist trophies entirely for more standardized assists across the board, though. If you did make it work, though, the work needed to fully develop one assist would be cut down considerably, potentially allowing for even more assists to join the fray. So yeah, assists are now tied to a meter. However, you may have noticed I lumped final smashes into the same section as assists. This is because they now share the same meter. You use 1 bar to summon an assist, with all 3 bars being used for your final smash. Of course, options would exist to let you remove assists to have a pure final smash meter a la Ultimate, but you could also do the opposite and remove final smashes from the meter and have them purely come from the returning Smash Ball item. However, you may notice the introduction of a second tier, indicated by Super Mushroom. This is a brand new addition to Smash, something I'm going to call a power-up state. Basically, these act as installs, with one character having an install specific to them. That's fun! The exact function of the state depends on the character, with the common idea across all of them is that they change some aspect of the fighter's core gameplay, instead of being a big flashy attack with a final smash. Basically, everyone gets a transformation final smash. So, for example, we got Donkey Kong slamming down some banana juice, which gives him 20 hit points of stamina, allowing him to soak up 20% of damage without having any actual damage to himself. And he gets some super armor. Okay. Nice, simple, easy to remember. Ryu can gain access to 3 EX Overdrive specials, activated by using the held variant of any of his special moves. I'd imagine things like the Shakunetsu Hadouken would be more moved here rather than being accessed through command inputs, with entering a command input for a normal Hadouken, just raising the damage a little. Of course, like the custom moves, you might have to get creative, but a few fighters when it comes to power-up states, and not all of them will be as flashy as these two, but you get the idea. Hell, maybe some older mechanics like Cloud's Limit and Joker's Arsene could be reworked into this concept. Plus, transformation smashes like Wario Man and Giga Bowser could return, freed from the cinematic shackles of Ultimate. I do enjoy transformation final smashes. Like, I understand the design thought process of getting rid of them, but it's just fun being able to take control of a superpowered character for a little bit. And I do miss that. Most importantly, though, I think giving everyone an install that goes beyond just making a character faster or stronger would be great for more experienced players to experiment with. Instead of just throwing out some big flashy attack like you can with most fighting game meters, you can opt to learn the newfound changes of a character's power-up state and work them into combos. Or use them to create new strategies and combos that weren't possible before. This adds more depth to everybody without changing who the character is at their core, which is a plus for casual and competitive players. Who knows, maybe this could even lead to Final Smashes being tournament legal if balanced well. Ha! That's funny. In short, this is what I'm doing in lieu of giving everyone a brand spanking new moveset. Instead of changing everyone, I'm giving them more tools to play with in the form of universal installs. Working instant references in a way that doesn't interfere with who a character is at their core, while giving the player more to think about when it comes to battle strategies. Okay. I will say this feels a little bit more like a Smash Ultimate sequel rather than a reboot, which isn't a bad thing at all. But this is definitely something that gets kind of layered on top of what we already have, and it's something that could actually be layered on top of what we already have. This is one of the few ways I think you could reasonably build on top of Ultimate. Like, you'd have to make 89 versions of these, but the rest of the game's already built, and you can spend all that time on these 89 versions. This is one of those... one of the areas I think you could afford to do this with. Modes! Regarding modes, not really working the way things in Smash have worked up until now. That doesn't mean we don't have stuff to talk about. So, of course, we've got Smash returning with tourneys, the special Smash... Squad Strike. It'd be cool if you could swap characters on the fly. Agreed. That'd be very cool. Coin Battle, bring it back. King of the Hill, yes please! We've seen this multiple times. It's so obvious. How do you have a platform fighter? Like, they've even done this, like, design elements of this with, like, the Norfair stage, with the little blue bunker that'll pop up, and it's the only way you can survive the wall of lava. But just not doing it with it... Ugh. Alright, this is like the actual Melee manual too. They recognize that's something you could do. They just won't program the damn thing. Training returns, possibly with built-in tutorials. I would love, like, Street Fighter-esque tutorials where the characters themselves are teaching you how to use the character. Those are so, so adorable. I like Ultimate's approach to Classic Mode. Seen a couple of people suggest this, like, Ultimate's Classic Mode is cool, but missing the other styles, so just have both. I think I agree with that. Mob Smash returns, All-Star returns to how it was in pre-Ultimate games. Home Run Contest returns, but seeing as we're working with a smaller roster, it wouldn't be too far-fetched. Oh, so we are doing a smaller... Okay. Break the targets, board the platforms. Stage Builder will return. Boss battles return. I do miss the smaller mini-games in previous games. Like, there wasn't much to them, but they were just nice little fun side things. Even just like the, oh, what was it called? In Melee... I think it was the classic mode. You just had that... Is it just called Trophy Drop? Where you kind of just hit the trophies and try to get them into the center of the stage? I don't remember what that was called, but, like, it was basically nothing, but it was a fun little change of pace. Go back to Adventure Mode a la Melee as well. I honestly think that Melee's Adventure Mode was my favorite integration of what I imagine that kind of mode should be for Smash Brothers. Like, I enjoy the Subspace Emissary, but I don't like the how disconnected the world and the enemy faction feels from everything else. Melee's journey through just various Nintendo worlds, while a lot simpler, felt a lot cozier to me. Smash Run, don't get me wrong, I like Smash Run. I feel like a big portion of why that worked in Smash 3DS is because you needed one screen per player to play. Split screen Smash doesn't stand out as something I think would work very well. I don't want to lock the best experience possible behind bringing multiple Switches and copies of Smash wherever you go, so I wouldn't prioritize Smash Run as much. Well, I mean, I'm just gonna pointing out, it's that in not wanting to lock the best experience possible behind that, you have locked it out entirely? This is a good point, though. Like, if Smash Run ever came back, you would kind of need to lock it into a single-player mode. Or rather, an online mode. That's interesting. Oh, this music's... Well, let's get more upbeat music. We've listened to this one for a bit. Yeah, there we go. Vault. Bring back Vault. Vault was cool. I miss Vault. Spirits. I like Spirit Battles, and I think Spirits are objectively the least taxing option of the size of Smash Ultimate's file size, but that isn't to say they're perfect. I miss the little blurbs on the character history you got from trophies. Trophies and Spirits both return to this game. with 3D trophies being reserved for major characters like fighters and bosses and the like. If anything else, gets a 2D spirits. Both types of collectibles have little history blurbs attached. That way you can have... Yeah, just make sure to have... like, the gaming history stuff alongside the spirits. Another big thing I feel really lacking in Ultimate. Museums aren't interesting because you can just see the things, because you can learn about the things. As for the spirit menu itself, Spirit Boarding Collection would return, obviously. Have some sort of mode for spirits to show their stuff. Maybe a roguelite mode similar to the Abyss mode from... Oh, that's fun! Yeah, I like the sound of that. And then online. Most Smash concepts often just say, make online better. Wow, true! I think we can go a bit further. Want a lobby a la Dragon Ball FighterZ. Let the player control an avatar and explore a small 3D space. Have areas where players can join casual and ranked lobbies, set up battle areas, or just vibe. I think this is the first time we've actually seen someone suggest an online lobby, and it's kind of a simple, obvious suggestion, but I do love the idea of it. It's a very easy way to use the Miis, which if you're able to customize them more, could be legitimately fun. However, I'd argue it should be a 2D space, both just to make it more just unique and stand out from the rest, but also because you could just do like little goofy things with actually fighting with your Miis in the area while you're waiting for either your friends to show up or just messing with whatever vendors or whatever in the area. You have a lot of fun with that. Burn my for fun and for glory. Land profiles be more diverse, with unlockable backgrounds and titles for... Yeah, just give me a reason to play online. GSP doesn't do anything for me. Stages! New stage form, Walled form. Battlefield and Omega forms are great and should absolutely return, but I want to introduce a fourth form that's a little more casual. This would give the stage a walk-off layout and invisible walls across the blast zone, similar to the King of Fighters Stadium. Not a whole lot to add, I just really like this stage and think it'd be cool if its mechanics could be done on any stage. On one hand, I feel like this is way too much work. You have to texture so much. But on the other hand, I also love this stage and would adore the chance to use these mechanics in more areas. Individual hazard toggles. Yeah, I've seen this a lot. Crossover stages, like PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Seen this a couple of times too, and I agree. A huge theme of, I think, all of these roundtables has just been a push for more interconnection between franchises. Like, it's great to have this game where Mario can punch Sonic in the face, but it's also a game where that's really the only way the two characters and franchises can interact, and it'd be interesting to see things intermingle a little bit more. And then 7.8, too much grass. This last point's a bit on the pettier side, but hear me out. Out of the 18 Mario stages featured in Smash Ultimate, 11 of them take place in a grassy plain of some description. I get that you want to incorporate the most popular locales from Mario history in the game, but an approach like this kills aesthetic variety. Kirby suffers from this problem too, and the less said about Sonic stages, the better. I mean, Metroid as well with lava, Donkey Kong with jungles. It's a huge problem that is sourced to how just stage design has evolved in Smash Brothers, which is really to say it just hasn't. They kind of just go back and like, oh, we gotta bring back the old stages that everybody loves. We gotta have something new too. But the most recognizable thing from the new game is kind of similar, but it's fine. We can just make 2 of them, and then repeat that thought process for 3 more games until half the stages look super similar to some other stage on the roster. You know, that's a good way to flesh out an Ultimate sequel. Just double down on making the stages better. I think I could tank like another Smash Brothers with all the characters being similar if we actually got some like proper good stage variety. Doesn't mean cutting down stages, that would happen on its own anyway, but rather trying to make sure each stage can stand out in terms of looks rather than just layout. For example, Paper Mario would still be represented in stage form, just take more inspiration from locales such as Rogueport or the battle screen of Thousand Year Door. In addition, just add a Bowser's Castle stage already. With all that out of the way, it's time for the real star of the show with our roster of the list of names that have defined this installment of Smash. Who goes, who stays, who joins the battle for the first time. Surely a well-planned and unique roster has been crafted to perfectly encapsulate my vision for Smash, yes? No. That's right, I won't be pitching a full roster for this reboot. This may come out as a shock, but hear me out. I don't think a whole detailing of the roster is really needed here, and if I'm being honest, might do more harm than good considering my vision. My idea for a Smash Reboot has been focused on the idea of freshening the game up in a few different ways rather than just looking at the roster. Custom moves being expanded on, Mii Fighters getting a semi-overhaul, and the introduction of power-up states. The problem here is that I couldn't really illustrate that idea with a roster on its own. I need to expand upon each character individually to really put everything together. I've already gone into detail on my vision for power-up states and the changes in depth they inherently bring to everyone on a theoretical roster, but illustrating the roster in detail through that lens would take up a lot of time and space, and I want to focus on mechanics and features. So yeah, we're not getting a full roster. Sorry if that disappoints you, but I feel like the time I could have spent worrying about the roster was better spent on fleshing out other elements. However, I can provide some insight on some broader ideas I have for a roster. A lot of reboots aim for a roster size around Melee's. While this is completely understandable, I feel like Nintendo would aim for around Smash 4's. A solidly sized roster which isn't too big of a reduction from Ultimate's roster. I've said my whole piece on this. I think that the size of the roster is directly intertwined with how different a reboot can be. I will say that what you've put here, I could see, I could see this working. I don't know if people would be satisfied with it. I think it's kind of just a middle ground of every particular direction you could go in, but I do think this would work. Because you can still use a lot of what Smash Bros. Has been while still building on top of it. There would be cuts, I think that's unavoidable. However, I could see cut fighters returning as assists or having their specials donated to other fighters via custom moves, which has already happened in the past. The roster could be composed of old and new faces, with one or two being specifically chosen to highlight the custom moves and power-up states. I wouldn't want to exclude a fighter just for having little source material to pull for these, but having a handful meant to show them off specifically makes sense. Original Roundtable is already getting into this, with wanting to highlight Robin over Martha to demonstrate the scope of custom moves. Vision, I could extend the branch to more staples and fan favorites. So I interpret this as like grabbing like Ray MK or Isaac from Golden Sun, just really heavily customizable characters that are intentionally customizable in their games. Turning veterans, honestly I try and avoid full-on overhauls of how they'd work. Sure, rebuilding every fighter from the ground up would definitely make the game stand out from its predecessors, but I want returning players to be able to avoid having to relearn their main from scratch, on top of learning the fundamentals of the new meter. Having that sense of familiarity might ease feelings of alienation. I'm not against changing fighters, period. I could see a few changed moves. I think with this, the reason I'm pausing for a second, if changing old characters isn't part of the vision, I think you need to try to bring everybody back. Because if significant design isn't going into like what the characters are, because here's the thing, even with the changes that have been made here, with the power-up states, with assists, you have to change characters regardless to make way for the new features. you can't really just layer something on top of existing characters and just have that work balance-wise. That's why Final Smashes are able to be turned off. Not saying that this is incorrect. Well, maybe a little bit, but more just pointing out that if you're adding anything, like baking anything into what the baseline of what Smash Brothers is, characters have to change regardless. For those who would receive custom moveset changes, want said movesets to still have an air of familiarity to them. Take Ganondorf, for instance. Specifically, Rival's Aether mod for him I really enjoy. He definitely feels a lot more like Ganondorf, but those who have played him in Smash, there's still old moves worked in which allow him to be a little more familiar. It's hard to describe, but that's the direction I want moveset reworks to go in for this Smash. Keep what works and tweak what doesn't rather than going full Scorched Earth. The inclusion of power-up states is good enough to give veterans a fresh coat of paint, so very few of them would receive full moveset overhauls. However, most characters see a few changes. Third parties will be cut down considerably. This is something that has to come with... I feel confident claiming that if we're going to lose the broader appeal of so many different franchises coming together from all across gaming history, there's got to be some crazy thing about the game that makes up for that. I'm not quite sure power-up states would allow for that. Plus, I think power-up states is a pretty easy thing to kind of just staple on a lot of the existing characters. Like, Supersonic's, like, right there. Do, like, Mega... What's the Mega Man armor called? I don't remember. I don't play Mega Man games. But stuff like that. Plus, remember my costume idea from earlier? Let's say Dr. Mario got cut. Just make him a costume of Mario. Make the costume replace fireballs with Mega Vitamins. Or if the Mario Tornado isn't a custom down special, Dr. Mario is kinda back on the roster. Plus, Dr. Mario is cool and I will have no counter-argument. Extra stuff! Visually similar to Smash 4, with hard outlines. Go cel-shaded as well. I would like that. Character interactions would be a better focus. We've seen that time and time again. I 100% agree. Wave dashing would return alongside melee-style momentum transfers from the ground to air. Combo counter has been added. Just looks fun. Yeah, I agree. Parries reflect projectiles. Also agree with this. It's just fun. And rage is gone. And that's the rework. Honestly, it was quite fun putting this all together, and I think between all the mechanical changes and new features, this Smash could stand on its own 2 feet and be out of Ultimate Shadow. Even if not everyone is here. Of course, I'm not saying this is the way Smash should be, just the direction I take it in. I'm all for hearing feedback. Until next time, thanks for reading. And here are some movesets I designed to illustrate the idea I had in mind for the power-up states. Skip in-depth look at these and also more too. Are these like... Oh, these are entirely separate. I like DDD. I will click DDD and skim through it just out of curiosity. Special skimming. Gets the spin for the side special. There better be door. There are Gordos. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. We got the big gay dance back for the final Smash. Power up state, mass DDD, as it should be. Increase power across the board. Produces shockwaves on the hammer hits. Uses flames from his hammer as he swings them. Gaining range, gaining multi-hit properties. Yeah, this is a nice illustration of what this could be. You either save up the full meter for the big gay dance, or maybe you just want to use the Mass DD alongside the Knuckle Joe assist to be thematic. Okay, yeah. I think there's a lot of good ideas here. I've given this feedback to a lot of these, but I do worry that we're trying to preserve a bit too much from the past. I feel like the hardest question about these reboots is the fine balance between can you still how do I word this? Make traditionalists happy while still evolving. And I don't know if you can reasonably do both. I think you either have to really commit to one or the other. Like, honestly, I said this earlier when you weren't here, FazDude. I would just try to bake all of these aspects into Ultimate as is. Like, what you're describing here is something I feel could be... Maybe not the assists. But, like, if an Ultimate Deluxe came out with the big selling feature being like, oh yeah, we've got the power-up states now. Like, I think that would be a nice way of following up on that. And I think that is something they could potentially design. It depends on how complicated they are, because, again, you do still need to, like, change up fighter designs if they get new tools to work with. But I think that's one of the very few ways I could see Ultimate growing in a way that changes up the gameplay in some way. Also, adore this. Just absolute yes. I've never thought about this before. But this is such an obvious, why aren't the Miis already like this? Like, come on. Come on. Claudius, FazDude, thank you for your submission. Alright, grab this. Pop it over. Into the document. Okay, okay. Oh, what's next? What's next? That's a catchy title. Let's grab this one. By Claudius. Whoops. I just duplicated that. Hold on a second. Is this safe to play? This isn't for like a TV show. I think this will get copyright strike. We're just gonna keep with the music we have right now. Super Smash Bros. Mecha. I don't know how to open this, so I'll just say, I feel like the perfect aesthetic for Reboot Smash is a futuristic sci-fi robot look. It could be set in the far future of the Nintendo universe, and conceded series may already have themes like that, most notably Metroid and maybe Kirby. However, since most of them don't feel as this could be a fantastic opportunity for new experimental looks. For example, Kirby's design could be a mix of mecha and laser. Designs for the Mario series could lean heavily into the Striker's Charge aesthetic. Pikachu could have a battery attached to him. But why mecha? Well, I feel like with the idea of a customization, a mechanical theme would fit really well. It would almost be as if you're taking the fighters into a workshop and giving them repairs. Finally, I want to talk about newcomers. These newcomers, instead of just being themed Nintendo or third-party characters, would be themed around the robotic theme. For example, Susie from Kirby, Andy from Advance Wars, Ram K. So that's my pitch. Oh. Oh, it's one page. Okay, so this is one of the food for thought kind of deals. I do feel like if you're going for like a themed installment, sci-fi is one of the stronger ones you could go with. I will admit, I am just a tad disappointed because when I read this, I was fully expecting like, okay, it's Pacific Rim, but your Jaegers are Nintendo characters. Now that I've got that in my head, I'm having a very hard time coming back around to this. But yeah, I do agree. I think you'd have a lot of fun with just, okay, maybe, what's the Gen 9 futuristic Paradox Pokemon in Gen 9? I don't know, I never played Gen 9. But, like, design Pokemon as if they are the far future Paradox mechanical versions of themselves. You could give, like, the more fantasy characters, like lightsabers, or a weird, like, crossbow, like, Wookiee bowcaster gun for Link. But, oh yeah. I apologize, I can't really add much more past this, but I do think it would be fun, and I would like it. Thank you for the food for thought. Gonna pop that down. Alright. Oh! That's interesting. Sure, I just want to know how this would work. Alright, jumping over real quick to Cheez balls. For a Battle Royale concept, how do you make this work? Use introduction to the Faction Fighter. Where does the series go from here? Well, down. Smash Brothers is too big, especially in Ultimate's case. The whole reason I'm here is because of the sheer amount of characters, stages, items, and more than Nintendo and others have shoved in. I was originally one of those people who'd post a reboot of 60 to 50 characters without even thinking of anything else in this game. Without thinking of what could make this game featuring Eggman, Banana D, at least the tiniest bit interesting compared to the 5 or 6 titles that came before. It was only after seeing the Relay that I began to think about what that answer to my dilemma would be. I had to think outside the box for this one, but I realized it was more of a squared box than a cubed box. And this is what I got when I added another dimension. First things first, how the heck am I going to make this game stand out? Well, I had to start looking for inspiration. I lurked beneath Discord combos, snuck by Reddit posts, and found many, many ideas. Many of them were really good, like the other submissions in the Relay. You guys are so creative, keep it up. Oh, would you look at that? Funnily enough, I listened to some music on YouTube to think to, when a track from Kirby Battle Royale popped up, and then it hit me. Smash's gameplay is based on the gameplay of the Kirby series, right? Well, why not take some more inspiration from a different game from the series? Taking cues from the aforementioned 3DS titles and some hints from Kirby and the Forgotten Land, envision a 3D action platformer fighting game that features a significantly smaller roster, with simplified movesets that still feel good to fight within a new dimension. Now, Smash is known for having a knockback percentage over a standard health bar, with other games like it opting for the former method. I still think it should, and likely would, be implemented here, though this game could also have a health bar system, due to it taking many cues from the aforementioned Kirby titles. Movesets would become much more simple compared to their 2D counterparts. Think Min Min in Ultimate. She's the only fighter to have a majority of her normal Smash and special attacks do the same thing. And not in a Sonic sense either, she's literally using her different buttons only to do the same set of moves. Similarly, Kirby 3D titles simplify the copy abilities a lot, and you're unable to do many of the fancy pants moves you can pull off in the 2D games. Realistically, movesets would look eerily similar to this. Just doing jabs, doing an aerial roundhouse in the air, holding B does a fiery fist of pain, Y is another special move, and the final smash. Of course, this is just an example. You can look at the movesets for the copy abilities in Kirby Battle Royale and see what I mean by simple. Look at what they had to do to Sword and Fighter. I will say immediately off the bat, this is probably too simple for a follow-up to Smash Brothers. Maybe as like a... it's too complicated for a side mode, though. The big thing that fans and Sakurai himself know is that the next roster, 2D or 3D, will not be as big as Ultimate's Goliath of the roster. How big? I'd say about 28 or 32 could work, with much simpler movesets. I could see that being a reasonable number. I mean, if you're going with this amount of simplicity, you could do with significantly more. However, this would mean that every single character would have to be unique in some way. If Mario and Luigi were both to be here, they would need each brother to be completely different from each other, instead of one. It's again using the weird clone thing they've got going on. Pit needs to be different from Link, Mii Brawler needs to be different from Little Mac, and so on. No two fighters should even remotely play alike. Here is an example roster, minus any newcomers. A roster similar to this one, though the third parties might be wiped out and replaced entirely, would be expected. Only a few franchises would get more than one rep, Mario obviously being the lucky one, with at most 3 returning fighters. As mentioned above, every character would need to be different. Everyone needs a thing. Mario is the basic, beginner-friendly guy, of course. His brother uses his poltergeist from the Luigi's Mansion games. Kirby and Diddy share a few moves already, inhale, hammer flip, etc., but none here. Kirby would need to get rid of the hammer, while DDD might need to get rid of the inhale move. Link would like just keep his sword and bombs on him, so the arrows would need to be removed from the normal moveset just so Pip can keep his things, and so on. Inkling has ink, Min Min has arms, Olimar has Pikmin, Pikachu uses electricity, etc. Many stable modes would need to be heavily edited in order for this to work. Some probably won't work, honestly, so here are some things that I can think of. We got 3D platforming levels with enemies from across Nintendo history. Okay, I think if you went hard on this kind of aspect of it, if you were actually platforming around much bigger areas, I think we could get away with the heavier simplicity. And if the complexity comes from like the outside aspects of the actual battles, I think that could work. Classic exists, race to the finish, home run contest, straw hat strike, online, rollback netcode or something, blah blah blah. This is a small thing, but I do like this. Just give the characters that you have selected little emotes that you can toss out. Oh, especially if you can do that while spectating. That would be so funny. Potentially also very annoying, but that would be so funny. Conclusion, I'd be fine within the 2D entry, of course, but if they were to get 3D, this is a route I'd see. And prefer Nintendo to take. Maybe they could get Bandai Namco and HAL Labs to help develop it. The roster, 2D or 3D, would be heavily cut down and simplified in order to have more time to develop so many other modes, stages, and other special things this game could have to separate itself from its predecessors. I can only hope that this concept makes any sense. This isn't the first time doing anything like this, so thanks for reading. I think this might be the first submission to the Roundtable where I kind of feel like you could have... I don't mean this as a bad thing, but I think you could actually afford to be more ambitious with this. Or... Okay, so where my head is right now, I would say you either need more complexity here, like maybe we specifically save, like, oh, I don't know, the ZR button or something like that, and if you're holding that button, it completely changes what moves you have. Like, this is a good template for how combat would work in a 3D game, but I think just having some way of, like, okay, if you're holding down, like, ZL, you get medium attacks, if you're holding both ZL and ZR, you get heavy attacks, or something like that, Alternatively, just go absolutely insane with the adventure aspect of this. When I saw that it was a Battle Royale, I thought we were talking, like, full-on Battle Royale, which with a fighting system like this, I think you could actually get away with. Like, just spawn 50 characters on Windfall Island from Wind Waker, and just have them duke it out with this kind of fighting inputs. I think that would legitimately work. Just create little Battle Royale maps based on various Nintendo areas, and just have this kind of 3D brawler using the more simplified movesets. I think that'd be legitimately fun. Overall, I like the thought processes here. I think it just needs to be taken, like, 2 more steps forward. Still enjoy it, though. This is a good concept. Thank you very much, Cheeseballs. I'm just noticing that you had specific music set out for that, and I completely missed that. I am sorry. Moving on. Okay, this one... if anybody knows This one right here seems like somebody submitted it, but it was deleted for whatever reason. If it was meant to be deleted, don't worry about it, but if you want your thing to be covered here, I can't cover this here because the document leads to nothing. Let's go for TomROMs. Or just to have a different presentation method. I'm feeling a slideshow. Let's get the chat bubble into a movable position. Alright. Quick introduction. Stop me if you've heard this before. Figuring out what to do with the Smash Bros. Series after Ultimate is tricky. You don't say. This is not big enough that I can still read it. There we go. A new game isn't going to be able to match Ultimate in terms of its number of playable characters. There's 89 of them currently, and since they're all owned by different creators and rights holders, it's unlikely the development team would be able to renegotiate for all of them. Not to mention, it's 89 characters. So if a new game is going to come out, it's my belief that it will need to have something that Ultimate doesn't. Something to help it stand out and give it its own appeal. Think the transition from Street Fighter V to 6, for example. By the end of its life, Street Fighter V had 40 plus characters. 6 only got 18 at launch, but made up for that with new systems, side mode, and a massive single-player campaign. The next Smash should do something similar. For this concept, I'll be going over a brief overview of what I think a new installment could look like if it took this approach. Battle together with anyone in any world. This is the tagline. The focus. Lean more into Smash Bros. As a crossover game. Firstly, Smash Bros. Is already going great for a game where Mario can fight Sephiroth and Mementos, but what if Smash leaned more into the idea of its characters crossing over and interacting with each other? I think we've heard this before. That's something that most crossovers do that Smash just doesn't. If the Smash Bros. Cast interacted with each other in some way, it would make both new and old characters on the roster more exciting. Because now you're not just excited to play as Captain Falcon, you're excited to see how he interacts with the other characters. Secondly, I feel like there should be something new gameplay-wise. Something that gives the player a reason to play the Smash Bros. Over the one with 80 plus characters in it, and make the older characters feel new to play as, regardless of how much they've changed between games. That being said, I don't want to just add a bunch of new mechanics and call it a day. Smash was made from the start to be a simpler take on fighting games, so I feel that this game should follow suit and not overcomplicate things. The focus should still be on casual play, even if competitive is being taken into account. And give players more to do than just regular battles. Single player content. Do literally anything. Anything worthwhile, that is. Obvious way to have characters in Smash Bros. Interact more is through little bits of dialogue. Firstly, characters... Wait. That took a second. Snake, no. Don't eat the Yoshi. That's not a lizard you just found in the wilderness. He has a family, Snake, please. Another way to have the cast interact more is through their classic mode routes. What if each character had their own little story to run through, like in the last 2 Street Fighter games? Link goes on a quest to save Princess Peach. Joker tries to steal Kazuya's heart. Isabelle tries to get funding for a town project from the other fighters, etc. The obvious issue here is that a decent number of the characters in Smash don't really talk in their original games. My solution to this is either have another character talk for them, Navi speaks for Link, Morgana speaks for Joker, or make it like Tekken where everyone is just able to understand each other regardless of language or no speech at all. That, I actually would really prefer the second option. You just have Link going around just going all, "Hi! What?" And the other characters are just talking to him completely normally, as if they completely understand him. That would be very funny. Also a fun idea, what if all the characters got unique text boxes to match their series? Zelda gets from Zelda, Snake gets the codec UI, Joker gets Persona text box. Yeah, that'd be fun. Replace the Mii fighting team with Smash Run enemies. Yes, please, I miss them all so much. Mob Smash is honestly a pretty forgettable mode. I personally played it in Ultimate once for an achievement and never touched it again. Making the enemies unique with some of them having their own methods of being defeated could make this mode so much more interesting. Gameplay additions. Like I said before, what makes Smash gameplay great and what makes it popular is how it makes fighting games simple to play for more casual players. So the general gameplay here should remain the same as before. That is, with the addition of a new major mechanic, which I'll be referring to as the multi-use meter, or MUM for short. Alright, in terms of names for the meter mechanic, TomROM is winning. Sorry everybody else, but that's hilarious. Like most fighting game meters, hit your opponent a bunch and it fills up, having 3 bars to be filled. It is, however, multi-purpose. Upon filling a bar, the player can choose to spend that bar on one of 3 things. A super, a buff, or an assist. Would you look at that? We might have just barely heard about this before. And you can turn off each option individually. This might be a hot take, but should they ever add something like this, I really, really wouldn't want it to be, like, toggleable. Because that makes it too easy to just kind of hand-wave it away of, oh, we don't need to balance this properly, we can just turn it off. I feel like it wouldn't be the best version of itself it could be, unless it was fully integrated into what Smash Bros. Already is. Supers will work how you expect them. One where you level 1, level 2, etc. Like the Final Smashes we have now, each of these are specific to the character in question. It allows for more of their history to be showcased. Agreed! For example, Mario's level 1 has him kick a Koopa, his level 2 has him whack his opponents with the hammer, and his level 3 is the Mega Mushroom. Could obviously all be different. I just wanted to show an example of how this could theoretically work. Buffs. Some other fighting games will allow the player to buff their characters using their meter. The ones here wouldn't work quite the same. Like I said before, I don't think any of the new mechanics added should be too competitive play focused, and simply buffing your chosen fighter doesn't seem all that cool from a casual perspective. Which is why these buffs are unique to each character. The funniest thing about doing these things is that some people have the same idea, and they're both good. Here's some examples. Mario gets a random power-up. Link swaps out his regular sword for the Master Sword. Gives him sword beams, all that kind of thing. Ganon transforms into Ganon. Joker hangs out with one of his friends. Like he's bringing up their social link. Snake gains some type of ability to sneak around the stage. Pokemon Fire starts the match in their base form and continues to evolve whenever they activate their buff. That's fun. I want to see more stuff like this. Like, that takes the element we're adding to the reboot and then integrates fighters that can directly benefit from what the reboot's trying to do. And this is a perfect example of that. You want to use the buff mechanic? Well, let's add in evolving Pokemon. That works perfectly. Assists! They're here to fight for you. Call them out and they'll do an attack for you. Or heal you or whatever else. We have multiple levels of assists. Having the fighter and assist equipped to a team-up attack. Oh, that's fun. Most of these are just both of them doing their stronger moves together, but for specific pairings, they'll have unique attacks to feed into that whole character interaction as I talked about before. For instance, Cranky Kong has one with Pac-Man as they're both from the... Okay, that's fun. Stuff like this is a 10 out of 10. I love this. Cranky Kong has finally found the one character he respects. The OG. Like the assist trophies before, assists are characters who are not playable on the main roster. Could also act as the game's collectibles. So there's about 30 of them in the base game that can be unlocked through completing various tasks. Just are involved in the character's interaction stuff I mentioned earlier, hopefully softening the blow of your favorite character, making it as an assist instead of a full fighter. So you still get to talk to him, which is fun. You got Team Up Supers. I've seen this mentioned a few times because it's a fantastic idea that I desperately want to see. Most pairings will just see the supers at the same time, but if two characters in question have some kind of link to each other, for example, Link and Zelda and Mario or Sonic, they'll do a unique attack specifically for them. We got on that adventure mode. Wait. This is actually... Wait! God, Project X Zone goes so crazy sometimes. I know almost nothing about that game. But then you just see stuff like this. Phoenix Wright has got his work cut out for him. Everyone said it and I'll say it again, just bring a new story mode so characters can interact with each other and fight other enemies. You don't need the big budget cutscenes, you can just have them interact with little, well really in any way and people will be happy. Doesn't have to be serious, if you play tongue-in-cheek, and as for the villain... Honestly, though, kind of inspired. I love this. The Tennis for Two machine, widely believed to be the first ever video game. It has become sentient, believes itself to be a god, the progenitor of all these other video game characters, and demands their respect and sovereignty. Love it. Okay, what is the roster you are bringing to the table here? Okay, I'm sorry, chat. I'm going to move you for a second. Mario, Peach, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Link, Zelda, Ganondorf, Isabelle, Inkling, Pikachu, Charmander, Gengar, Kirby, Bandana, D, Chrom, Anna, Samus, Captain Falcon, Shulk, Olimar, Sonic, Eggman, Ryu, Chun-Li, Pac-Man, and the Invaders. Okay. Immediate bit of feedback from here. This should be Ghastly. This should 100% be Ghastly, who eventually evolves into Gengar. Like, I love... Also, Pikachu should be Pichu for the same reasons. Like, if we're going to use that as a mechanic, that's fantastic, but I think that should be baked into everything else as well. So I'm just trying to think. I think it's a solid, like, smaller roster. I would want to see a little bit more. Just what I've been talking about earlier. I was just like, okay, these are the characters that were picked because this is the direction we're going for this game. I like Charmander for that reason. I want a few more Charmanders around, if that makes any sense. But to trade Haunter mid-fight. Man, I bet you. There's design room there. Maybe Haunter has a specific ability where it, like, trades stock. Well. No, here's what it is. It has a possession ability where you possess the enemy fighter and try to force them to walk off the stage. If you kill them by doing so, you have traded stocks for that stock. And you respawn as Gengar. That's how you do that. Veterans are here. Focus on those who are relevant today. Mario, Donkey Kong, Fire Emblem, Pikmin, etc. Captain Falcon is here because it's Smash Brothers. Plus, Captain Falcon would be a really fun character to have interactions with other characters. Third-party characters are too big of a deal to get rid of, and they help give the series its celebration of gaming focus. That said, though, I kept them to a minimum, as to not have many hypothetical resources be used. Sorry. On acquiring guest characters. I picked Pac-Man, since Bandai Namco develops Smash these days, and it would be odd to not include a character from them. I chose Sonic, as he doesn't seem to be that hard to get a hand on. And I choose Ryu as Street Fighter is back on top of the world right now, and Capcom always seems to be open to putting their characters in crossover games. Why Chrom? That is a fantastic question I should have paid more attention to. Why Chrom specifically? Originally went to Marth, as he's always been the main representative for Fire Emblem, but with this game's focus on its characters interacting with each other, I felt that Marth was kind of just too bland to really have many interesting interactions. I picked Chrom instead, as he feels like he's much more of a character than Marth is, and he's often used by Nintendo as the face of the series. Also a pretty half-baked idea, and I'll throw it out there anyway. I want him to have some kind of mechanic where he can place, say, 3 of his allies onto the stage and have them attack his opponent when they're near him, with his buff allowing him to upgrade their classes. Interesting. See, that's picking a character for the kind of evolution mechanic. I like this. This spot could probably go to another Fire Emblem protagonist, but Awakening is the only one I've played, so my knowledge here is admittedly limited. I think with your logic here, it's fine, but I think if you're wanting a Fire Emblem character to have, like, good character interactions, like, there's so many better options out there. Like, give me Claude. Can we just make Claude the face of the franchise? I'd love that to happen. I'm sure Josie would be down for that. Charmander is 2/3 of a newcomer. He's basically the Pokemon evolving as the buff character I mentioned beforehand. I picked him as Charizard is already cool and iconic. Whenever I think of Pokemon evolution, this is the one I think of first. The character would only be able to get a higher level buff upon already gotten a buff to the previous game, of the previous level. Level 1 evolves into Charmeleon, level 2 evolves into Charizard. At level 3, he temporarily Mega Evolves. Gengar was included as more of a placeholder. He'd probably be swapped out for a Pokemon from whatever the latest game is. But none of the Scarlet and Violet designs are all that appealing to me. I don't know what the next generation of Pokemon are going to look like. Which is why I just resorted to picking an older one. I thought he would be cool. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Gengar would be a fantastic Smash Brothers character. He's a ghost type. That would be neat. Bandana D. We picked, as he's basically Kirby's main player 2 character now, and people have requested him enough that I think it makes sense to include him. That's it. This is one area where I would double down on, but the buff thing though. Like, what do you buff with Bandana D? Like, I can think of options. Like, you could have the Star Allies elemental buffs, but if we're going for Kirby characters that could use, like, that kind of buff mechanic, I don't know if this would be the best option. I would honestly go for Magolor, actually, given his specific mode that was all about him getting his powers back. That kind of fits perfectly into what this is trying to do. And it was picked as a Fire Emblem. Should probably have a second character. I didn't want to just resort to including another returning one. My knowledge of the series is limited, as I mentioned before, but I know that she's a shopkeeper character who appears in all the games, and having seen some concepts for her on Peasant's Perspective, I felt she should be the other Fire Emblem rep. Honestly, I just want her to become the face of the franchise. She fits so well for that. She has a delightful personality. Just bite the bullet. Chun-Li is an odd pick. I feel that third-party series in Smash should get secondary reps like the Nintendo series when it makes sense to do so. Arguably, she's just as iconic to Street Fighter as Ryu is, often appearing in crossovers just as much as him. I guess if you're going purely on the argument of iconic status, but you got Capcom. Well, yeah, I guess if you want to have, like, multiple characters from the same series, it does make it feel like you're actively crossing over more fully with the third-party franchises if there's more than one character there. Like, in a strange turn of events, it feels like Final Fantasy VII got, like, the best deal when it came into crossing over into Smash Brothers, because they got Cloud and Sephiroth. It just feels a little more complete because of that. Eggman was chosen for the same reason as Chun-Li. The Sonic series is big enough to get more fighters and has enough characters that are iconic enough with enough moveset potential to work with. Also play very differently. Also works well with the buff thing. Like, this is a... I'm down for Eggman. Eggman fits really well with what we've been shown so far. That's Space Invaders. Hailing from arguably the most influential video game in the industry's history, it's honestly kind of surprising they weren't represented in at least some way before now. A floaty lightweight fighter with 6 jumps, making them at their best in the air, becoming faster and more deadly with every stock loss, switching between each type when they respawn. I feel like every fighting game roster should have the weird character, and Smash has arguably been doing so since the very beginning. So I wanted an oddball pick, and I felt that the Space Invaders were weird and unexpected enough, while still being iconic and having enough moveset potential to work with. I won't go into my full pitch for these guys now, I might submit that for Peasant's Perspective, please do. But I will say that in a game like this, where every fighter has a special buff, theirs would allow them to summon another invader to assist them. This invader can build up the player's meteor by attacking them too. Ugh, sorry, English is really hard for me today for some reason. Having to deal with some, like, respiratory bullshit that's just made talking and breathing a little difficult lately. This invader can keep up the player's meter by attacking 2, allowing the player to keep summoning more of these guys and over... Oh, that's fun, though! Oh, I wasn't sold until that last sentence, but that's so fun! You're just slowly building up a swarm of Space Invaders. That's a fair point, Jared Heberts. Terry got fully integrated into the game and brought basically the entirety of the Fatal Fury cast with him. Want more other miscellaneous stages? I want more... That's Tetris in the background. How is this not a thing? I'm sure there's, like, legal issues or something like that, but... This has always felt like the most obvious stage to me. And it just isn't one. It would be so fun, but we don't have it. I want more stages representing series that aren't on the roster. The current games already do this, but I want more. There's a ton of franchises, Nintendo or otherwise, that aren't really big enough to have a character who could be playable, but could easily make a great stage. Tetris. Obvious. An Advanced Wars stage, where the fighters are stuck between 2 opposing sides battling it out and have to avoid getting caught in the crossfire. A Namco Museum stage. Portal stage, where GLaDOS... Oh, that's a fun one! I'd be down for that. Where GLaDOS personally insults the various fighters. And that's everything. I could go into more detail on stuff like the stages, other modes, DLC, but I wanted to focus on the main overarching stuff for this. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll be interested to hear feedback. Thanks for reading. Yeah, I think there's some good stuff here. I don't know if it always commits to the vision you've got going on here, but when it does, I love so many of the ideas here. Like, it kind of just what I said before. I just want more of a focused look at, okay, how does this character work with the buff mechanic, right? Especially love, though, and like we've seen other people cover these ideas as well, but just the idea of, like, team up attacks, team up supers, team up assists, that kind of character interaction is, like, the big thing that's missing from Smash Brothers right now. I've said that, like, 20 times before on these roundtables, but it's worth repeating, because it's true. Yeah, very fun. Thank you, TomROM. Alright, let's grab this. Move that over. How much time have I got? Okay, I still got some time. Okay. Let's go with... So let's do the one that's at the top. I'm bouncing around this one for a bit. Well, let's get this fully back into position now. Perfect. Okay, who is this for? Willi. Super Smash Bros. RPG is the only one just for me. Love the rhyming team. With how wide the Super Smash Bros. Universe is and how it continues to grow, there is one gaming genre I can think of which can have this premise for it like a white glove. A role-playing game. Sorry, that got really twisted in my head. These kinds of games are no stranger to Nintendo, and some of their most popular IPs are RPGs themselves, making this choice all the more feasible to me. The kind of RPG... God, Bayonetta's battle theme is just... It's so good. The kind of RPG doesn't have to be your typical Final Fantasy or Fire Emblem, just as long as it's both familiar and refreshing to watch and play. As for what can be expected from this, there is a whole smorgasbord of ideas. The characters can have their own unique roles and classes, series-related skills, and unmatched flexibility/creativity given this idea's direction. I can see them having unique team combinations which can pull off some stellar stuff. Bosses can be recruited onto your side as they join forces against a common greater evil. The world itself would be vibrant and lively with different franchises seamlessly stringed together. Speaking of, we could even have the most deep and engaging story since, potentially better than, the Subspace Emissary. I mean, bit of a low bar. Possibly some hidden details within the lore for all the game theorists out there. Apologies if this seems vague. Ah, god damn it! Oh, I was so excited to see this go further. That's not a judgment on you, Willi. But I was getting into it a little bit there. I was like kind of picturing, okay, like, what kind of bosses can we recruit? Do we have like, just go through everybody in the roster and make them enemies first? Do some Persona 4 Shadow shenanigans where you have to fight the evil version of the character first before they can become whole? Like, God, there's so much you could do with that, and it's just over now. Damn it. I see a lot of people suggest Smash Bros. RPG, and like it's appealing for obvious reasons. You could do so much with just even the smallest types of character interactions, just having... maybe have Peach leading the last brigade of Toads as they try to survive in the strange new crossover world they're stuck in. Just give every character on the roster their own little individual stories. You know what you do? You set it up like Live Alive, where every single character has their own individual story, and then they all coalesce. And then maybe... Well, okay, no. Sorry, scratch that. They need to interconnect a little bit more than that. They can't just be individual stories. Maybe add, like, a third layer to the Live Alive setup. So you have the baseline of the pyramid, where every character starts in their individual stories. Then the crossover elements, where the characters start interconnecting with each other. And then a final tip of the pyramid, where everyone comes together for a grander threat. I like that, because then you can have super focused stories where you're like, okay, which two characters would fit really well together? Oh, let's try Samus and Robin. Sure, why not? We'll see how this works. And then those two stories can intertwine, and they can be specifically designed to intertwine to make them like meaningful and in depth, but still have that coming together moment at the end. Like, you don't even need 3 layers. You could do as many of those as you want to as the group of 2 becomes a group of 4, and just make the party grow bigger and bigger. Maybe having on each story, various characters make contact with one another? Maybe, yeah. Is that how Octopath Traveler works? I've never played that game either. Regardless, the point is, this is a idea with limitless potential. I see it suggested so much. I am dying to see someone try to flesh it out. I shouldn't say that. It's probably been fleshed out in some way at some point, and I'm just not remembering. I've read like 300 concepts. I apologize if I'm forgetting somebody's badass Smash Bros. RPG idea that was in Peasant's Perspective 12, and I've just forgotten. Still though, cool idea. Dixo is getting ideas. Fantastic! That's all I needed to hear. Well, let's just bop through a couple of these old... The other ones. Whose was this? King. I better be careful with this when he outranks me. About 2 years ago, I wondered what Smash Bros. Could continue after Ultimate. With a roster like that, the only way it could continue is if it had a gimmick. I thought of it being heroes versus villains, but I then had another idea. What if every character had their own boss battle? And thus, Super Smash Boss. Oh! Oh! Super Smash Boss! I didn't read that properly. Only to sit untouched in a Google Doc for 2 years. But now I have an excuse to update and share it. I now present to you my pitch for a Super Smash Bros. Reboot. I've always felt that Smash Bros. Has more potential for arcade mode and bosses than people think. So many characters end their arcade runs on Master Hand with only a few getting a different boss. Though Bayonetta actually got a really unique battle against Palutena. But that Bayonetta boss made me realize Roden is from her series and is an assist trophy, one that can be battled with that. Why not give several character boss fights against something like an advanced assist trophy, along with some stage hazards? I've decided to cut the roster down to 45 characters, each with their own unique boss battle. The need for a unique boss helps clear out some characters, and being able to take assist trophies, Pokemon, and stage hazards to upgrade into bosses makes the load much lighter, allowing them to fit more into the game, including some rewards for beating each character's arcade run. Of the 45 characters, I've decided that it will be 26 returners, 4 echoes, and 15 new characters, and third-party veterans. Given the last game was 89, this will be difficult. And of course, after beating the boss in arcade mode, they'll be available for all other characters. Oh, okay. That's an interesting direction to take. Significantly less characters, but way more, like, going more of a PvE focus for Smash Bros. So let's see how this plays out. Mario is here. Boss is Giga Bowser. Donkey Kong goes against K. Rool. Link against Ganondorf. So this is actively, Don't know how I feel about that. Hold on, let me skim through this just a little bit. I want to see if there's any villains on the roster. Okay. There are. I was gonna say, I would be extremely sad if a Smash Bros. Game came out and I couldn't play as any villains. I'm kind of just ignoring, like, the character changes. Because a lot of these are just, like, King K. Rool. He fights like he has in the first 3 DKC games. But I like the format here. He plays the character, go against a boss that's specifically designed to be a boss for them, and you get something cool for your efforts. Like, this stuff in particular, I wish there was more of that in Smash Brothers. Just reward me for doing something cool, doing something well. I still remember, like, God, what were those things called? In Smash 4, you had, like, the wall of pictures, and then you'd slowly, like, every little part of the grid was tied to an achievement. And when you did the achievement, it would, like, fill out so you could get a full picture. I cannot remember what that was called. But I was so bummed when I finally 100%ed that, and you just get nothing for that. Like, just give me, like, a gold texture for my characters or something. Just something. Samus against Ridley, Yoshi against Kamek, Kirby against Marks, Fox against Andross, Pikachu against Diego. Okay. Luigi against King Boo, Ness against Porky, Captain Falcon against Black Shadow. Oh, that's fun! Jigglypuff against Meloetta. That's actually hilarious. I love that. Peach goes up against Grape from Showtime. Long-standing, super powerful character, Grape. And we no longer have bosses. This seems like it might be incomplete. I will say, we've seen a couple of ideas cover, like, giving boss themes to, like, actual characters on the roster. Like, what does Princess Peach's boss battle theme sound like? This would be a great way to implement something like that. Make a specific Mario boss battle. Just have him eat a Mega Mushroom and make it an actual boss fight. That'd actually be really sick. I'd love to see that. Same works for Ganondorf. Just enter the arena. It's Link standing there. He puts on the Fierce Deity mask, and now you have to deal with that as Ganondorf. God, that would actually be so sick, though. Can we please have that? Meta Knight versus Galactonite. Pit versus Phosphora? Phosphora and Doom Justice. It's just a Pit game. He's not likely to have a game for a very long time. So Phosphora gets upgraded from his sister. Nah, it's Sakurai. I think for a character like Hades, just the fact that it's a character like Hades, you can justify putting in some work for him. People don't need to know what he's from to enjoy a character like Hades. Moira versus Ashley, Ike versus Black Knight. Pokemon Trainer versus Gold. That's fun. Oh, that's actually extremely fun. It's a 3v3 with the Gen 2 starters. Love that. Shabazz against Metalface. Including against the Squid Sister. Really? Okay. Isabelle against Tom Nook. What is this? Rather than a standard boss fight, Tom Nook has made several stores around the stage, and the player has to destroy them all while preventing Tom Nook from bringing bells to the stores to repair them by attacking him. So you're just... It's just a boss battle, harassing the tired businessmen to bankrupt him. Mii Fighters against the Dark Lord. Birdo becomes an echo for Yoshi. Dark Pit is an echo for Pit. Sonic goes up against Shadow. Knuckles is... I don't know if I'd agree with that one. I feel like to get a Knuckles right, you gotta have some, like... some really heavy hits that you just can't get from Sonic. And then... the legendary character, insert third party. So great, they're on the roster 4 times. Fit Adventure versus Drago. Drago? I have no idea how to say his name. Oh, Taboo! I do think the idea for... Oh, I should probably skip this song, actually. That can get... There we go. Gotta be a little careful when you have actual, real bands. But no, yeah, I do love the idea of being able to play as Taboo. I think that would just be cool. For extra bosses, just stuff that's already in the game. Master Hand, Wily and the Yellow Devil, Dylan, Isaac, Skull Kid, Marasmus, from Team Fortress 2. No other outside games out here, but we specifically need Team Fortress 2. I mean, Team Fortress 2 is very fun. Can't fault that. Okay, one of those ideas that's more of a, kind of just a list. Nothing wrong with that, but I find that to be, like, the, using that kind of pyramid metaphor before, that's like the bottom layer of the pyramid, and that's where you have to start building up on. So I kind of just want to hear. I don't know how to word that. Never mind. I do like the idea of giving characters individual boss battles. I don't think that would sell people on this, unfortunately. Although that is another thing they could add on to Ultimate. Actually, that'd be an extremely easy thing to add on to Ultimate. Just a nice way of like adding some secret stuff into the game. Like, here's a bunch of crazy, weird boss battles that we've applied to every single character's classic modes. Have fun. You know, Villain's idea do that too? I think it might have. Yeah, I think. I'm not gonna say one way or the other because I don't remember. Actually, what am I doing? I can just check. I have the whole list of things right here. Never mind, this is a very long list. Holy shit, we've covered so much. I can't remember what it was called. Never mind, never mind. Yeah, I like the idea of unique bosses. I love the idea of giving like some actual proper unlocks for going through these things. But I do think we would need more. Like, if you can unlock the boss in some way to be able to play against them. Like, if there was a player versus boss mode, like, this would be a great way. This would be a great game for the Wii U in that way. Like, every single one of these bosses you fight, you can then unlock to control with the gamepad. That'd be a great way of doing this. But I do think it needs something extra along those lines to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. Still some great ideas in there, though. I did enjoy that. Thank you, King. Okay. Alright, Jocgginsa. We'll jump to next. This will probably be the last one of this stream. It's going to be sorry for the shorter stream today. Just don't have time. I've got things I need to do. But we will finish up with this one. Jocgginsa's. Did I say that right? Jocgginsa, yeah. Smash Reboot Proposal versus Smash. Would freshen things up by injecting the team mechanics of games like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Marvel vs. Capcom. Okay. Like in those games, players would select a team of characters in order to play as rather than a single character. In this case, it would be teams of 2. This is in order to keep things relatively simple, and also because the current maximum fighters in a Smash match is 8. Divides easily by 2. As for the way the assist mechanics would work, it is again kept simple. There would be a dedicated assist button. Pressing it with no input would tag your characters out, while pressing it with a directional input would call out one of the partner characters for possible assist moves. Additionally, if you trigger a final smash with the assist button, it will initiate a unique team-up attack. Although due to programming limitations, only certain pairings will get impressive unique cinematics. While conceptually this isn't a very huge change, I want to keep things simple. I'm not a game designer, just a guy who likes thinking about hypothetical games. I figure keeping this simple is the best way to approach this. Another super duper simple one. Yeah, we've seen the idea of, actually this stream even, of these kind of combo characters and combo attacks. I am curious how well the tag fighter elements like this would work in a platform fighter. Because I think one of the major reasons it works as well as it does in Fighter Z and Marvel vs. Capcom is that it's a hyper-controlled environment. That's not to say that it wouldn't work in Smash Brothers, but I do think it would need to be tweaked in certain ways, because like there's just a lot more stage to work with. So you want to have, like, a useful assist. You're going to want it to have either some kind of, like, stage coverage or good ways of following up your own attacks, because if it's just, like, acting as a separate attack input, that's not the most interesting way to handle that, and I would want to see some other way for this. I just kind of, off the top of my head, maybe certain assists are made to enhance your own mobility, perhaps? You get the one, like, you know, in Mario and Luigi, where they kind of jump off each other to get increased height and crashing down another opponent. Maybe that's, like, Luigi's up assist. He'll launch you upwards so you can come crashing back down on an opponent. I don't know, something like that. I just... Sorry, English has been really hard today. But I do think it would need something of that nature. Something that integrates a lot more of the platforming aspect into the tag team mechanic. But I think it's a good idea. I'd be curious to see that. I do think that is one of the potential options that Smash Bros. Could take if they want to freshen things up while still keeping things mostly the same. Also is a great way of getting more character interactions, which is pretty much a unanimous suggestion from everybody we've seen so far. Well, that was a single page. What time is it? I can't afford to go over. How many ideas do we have left? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6. I can't see the... Hold on. Don't know if that is the original submitter. I'm not going to delete it just in case it isn't. Might be able to cover this in one more page. Probably 2. But we're almost to the end of this. Exciting. I'm consistently blown away by all the insane ideas you guys all bring to the table. Like, we've seen some sick stuff. Alright, I think we're at the point that I can start working on and releasing whatever the next reboot, the Roundtable Relay is going to be. So we can start people writing up their submissions for that while the streams are going on and we wrap this up. But for now, I think that's going to be all for today. Sorry for the shorter stream today. I got work, I got school, I got things to do. But I will try to stream at some point next week so we can get through these as quickly as possible. And create that final video kind of just going over what our community has decided would be the best directions for a Smash Reboot to take. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time. See ya!